Joining me now with more on how Republicans are fighting back against the left's open borders agenda is House Freedom Caucus Chairman Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona and Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett. Congressman, I want to go to you first. You saw what the senators said. You saw what the Supreme Court said. What was your reaction to it?
Well, I actually couldn't believe it, Jason. It was a mishmash. You've basically taken an illegal order protecting illegal conduct, and you've essentially equated it to a rule that they want the administration to overturn. And the reality is, I thought Clarence Thomas had it exactly right. He said their job was to determine whether the administration had the ability to rescind. They did. That should have ended the ruling. That should have ended the case. And so they did immeasurable damage yesterday.
Greg, what was your reaction to the ruling and what Senator Cruz said?
Well, Senator Cruz is right. And frankly, the incompetence of Jeff Sessions continues to haunt the Trump administration. They put the inept, bumbling former attorney general in charge back in 2017 of rescinding DACA. And it was so incredibly simple. All he had to do was follow the rules of the Administrative Procedure Act. The APA. It's the equivalent of checking boxes. It calls for a notice and comment period, and that's it. A third grader could do it, which puts it well beyond the expertise and skill set of Jeff Sessions. Having said that, the Supreme Court, I think, was wrong, so naturally it was written by John Roberts. You don't have to follow an administrative law to rescind a lawless action. And Obama, when he created DACA, knew it was lawless. More than a dozen times he said, I don't have the power to do this, and then he did it. So President Trump, when he came to office, said, I'm rescinding it. It's the duty of Congress to dictate immigration. That's what the Supreme Court has said since the late 19th century. Congress has plenary power over immigration. So President Trump said, Congress, you have to fix this. Unfortunately, Congress couldn't fix a broken street lamp, with all due respect to my friend Andy Biggs.
No, look, I got to agree with you. I sat in Congress there for 8.5 years. I sat on the Immigration Subcommittee and Judiciary, and they can't get anything done. You know, these DACA kids, I think they deserve some sort of resolution. I think there are a lot of good people who are here because of no fault of their own, but there's got to be a resolution to themselves. And I worry, Congressman, I don't like grouping everybody together and saying everybody's bad or everybody's good. You know, I felt uncomfortable, quite frankly, when we talked in that last segment about Black Lives Matter. I think there's actually a lot of good people in there. I disagree with some of their platform movements, but I don't think you can uniformly just say, oh, they're all lunatics. I disagree with that. But the Congress has got to be able to tackle difficult things, Congressman, and yet I don't even see them debating, let alone solving some of these deep issues like DACA.
No, you're exactly right. And Jason, you were there. You've seen it. In some ways, you're supposed to filter through and get a good product, but we don't tackle these projects because it's become so political. Everything's so political. When you start looking at DACA, you're talking roughly 800,000 eligible applicants is the number that they're quoting. But don't forget, you've got a moral hazard because since the deadline for DACA was almost 7 years ago now, you have an additional probably 1 million to 2 million people that have entered the country that would meet the same criterion. And I've never met a DACA DACA-eligible individual who hasn't told me they want to bring their parents in. So you start moving up quickly to 5-6 million people, and that really needs to be debated, and Congress needs to look at it carefully. But if you watch the policing bill that came out of Judiciary the other day, you understand and you remember how inept Congress can be sometimes.
Yeah. Well, look, you got to get rid of the rewards and incentives, or you're going to keep getting the same result. But talk to us, Gregg Jarrett. I've only got a short time left. The power of the presidency, the power of the executive branch, if you allow the president to just issue an executive order and that the only way to rescind that is through action by Congress, that gives all the power to the executive branch.
Yeah, President Obama, by executive fiat, granted amnesty to roughly 800,000 people. And again, as I say, it was a lawless action, and he knew it was lawless. It should be done through Congress. But at the same time, I think President Trump needs to go back with the new Attorney General in the Department of Homeland Security, and this time, for goodness sakes, just follow the really easy, simple Administrative Procedures Act. Do it all over again. Once again, give Congress an opportunity to do their job, though I'm not optimistic they're capable of doing it.
No, like I said earlier in the show, Nancy Pelosi thinks members of Congress are non-essential employees. And I don't know, maybe she's got a point. But Congressman and Greg, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Really do appreciate it.